This is Las Vegas Vantage with your host, Rocky Dickerson.
Hi, welcome to Las Vegas Vantage. I'm Rocky Dickerson of Realty One Group. Here on Las Vegas Vantage, we do talk a little bit about the real estate in Las Vegas, but more importantly, we talk about the community, the people that make this such a special place to live in. And today, I've got a very unique and special guest with us. We have Tiffany from the Trauma Intervention Program, also referred to as TIP. Tiffany, thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Tiffany, tell me, what is TIP?
So like you said, TIP is the Trauma Intervention Program, and our organization is a nonprofit organization that has volunteers trained to give emotional and practical support in the immediate aftermath of a crisis.
Wow. How long have they been in Las Vegas?
We've actually been here for 30 years. Well, most people haven't heard of us until they've needed us. It's been around for a long time, but here in Las Vegas for 30 years, we celebrated this year.
So was there something in particular 30 years ago that caused them to start the program?
It started off in Southern California about 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago. And at that time, it was a mental health professional who recognized there was a gap in the care people were getting when they were going through trauma. And so he recognized that there was some additional support that needed to happen, basically so that people would get support quicker after a tragedy. And then they've just kind of opened up additional affiliates over the years.
That's great. So now, how does TIP get requested to an area where there may have been a traumatic event or by people that have gone through trauma? How does that happen?
So we get requested by all of the emergency response agencies in town. So here in Las Vegas area, we've got multiple police departments, multiple fire departments, and it can be out at Lake Mead, it can be the school police, it can be the coroner's office, as well as most of the hospitals in town. Anyone who is with somebody in a crisis that is considered kind of an emergency responder, they're the ones who request us directly through their dispatch system.
Gotcha. So let me ask, maybe in like a typical month, how many calls do you respond to?
We respond to quite a few. I would say on average, it's about 5 in a 24-hour period. So we're over 100 calls a month. Yearly, last year we responded to 1,948 calls. So almost 2,000 calls in a year. So We're pretty busy.
That's great.
Yeah.
So how would someone become a volunteer?
To become a volunteer, there's a few criteria. We have a website, which I know we'll go over a little bit later, but you go through a kind of a vetting process, but really we're just looking for people who care and want to be able to support their community. So they go through a training academy. It's about 36 hours where we teach them emotional first aid skills and how to work within those emergency response agencies.
Sure. So now, I know you are a resident of Las Vegas. You've been here since 2006, if I remember right?
Yep, December of 2006. Yeah.
So what was it that led you to become a part of TIP?
Oh, that's a hard question. Not a hard question. I actually get asked it all the time, but it's pretty personal. I grew up my whole life being taught that when bad things happen, you should go out and serve other people. And I kind of always had that in the back of my head. And then about 10 years ago, my whole life fell apart. And in the middle of all the chaos, I thought, I just need to go serve other people. And I had actually heard about TIP at a community event, a fire station open house where I'd taken my young children. And I'd been on their interest list for about 2 years. And every time I'd get an email about, hey, there's a volunteer academy coming up, and you're like, oh, I love it. I want to do that someday, but not right now. My kids are too young. And then 2 years later, when my life fell apart, things fell into place where my mother-in-law moved into town and she helped watch my kids. And I looked up the academy, and coincidentally, there was one 2 weeks after I had this like aha moment that I needed to go out in the community. And I tell people all the time that TIP not only changed my life, but it saved my life. it got me through one of the hardest times of my life.
So now you actually started as a volunteer, but now you're on staff. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Um, I was a volunteer for about 5.5 years or so. And TIP actually only has 3 paid staff members. It's a nonprofit. So we have a CEO, a director of volunteer management. I'm now the outreach manager. There was a slightly different position before me, and that person left and went to do some other things. And my boss now, the head of the organization, called me up as a volunteer and asked if I'd be interested in working. And for me, I had gone back home to stay with my kids I wanted to be there more present with them. And this was the only thing that would have pulled me away from my kids. And it was a rare opportunity for a position to open up because there's only 3. And it was great because my kids really supported me. They knew how much I loved TIP and what we do. And so I get to now spread that information about TIP to other people.
That's great. So, I mean, obviously, you've been in Las Vegas a while. You've been here for, gosh, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So tell me, obviously, you've learned a little bit about the town. What are some of your favorite restaurants here in Las Vegas?
Oh, I've got several of them. When I have people that come to visit me, I usually take them to Grand Lux Cafe,
Ooh.
which is affiliated with Cheesecake Factory, but it's kind of a step up. And the fun part about it is it's in a couple different locations on the strip. So you get kind of that strip experience, but really good food.
Sure.
And then off the strip, I love flaming fajitas. I think it's Juan's Flaming Fajitas. It's just kind of a fun environment and really good food.
Sure, sure. So when you moved to Las Vegas and you've lived here for a while, was there anything about the town that kind of caught you by surprise?
Yeah, actually, when you hear about Las Vegas, everyone knows about the strip and the gambling and the shows and all of that kind of stuff. But I moved here as a young mom. I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and then eventually had 2 more kids since I've been here. And so that wasn't really my scene. But it was really fun to discover that there's a lot of really amazing family-friendly things to do. And so as my kids were little, there's tons of parks all over town. There's, little places like M&M World on the strip. If you're going to be on the strip, you can still see things that are, fun for the kids. And then the outdoors, the beauty of the desert. I grew up in Southern California, so I'm used to like the beach and the green and stuff like that. It was a little hard for me at first, but discovering some of those beautiful places like Red Rock, where people travel from all over the world to come visit them and to kind of find those hidden trails that are fun to hike on and to be able to find just a different kind of beauty.
Oh, sure. There's a lot of great stuff for
Yeah.
families to do here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's say that someone is thinking that they would love to be able to help and be able to serve others. How can they get connected to TIP and see about becoming a volunteer?
So it's actually really easy. You just go to our website. It's tipoflasvegas.org. And on that website, there's a little section for volunteering. And it will go over all of the requirements, which really aren't very many. You don't have to have any sort of education or background. We have volunteers of all walks of life and ages and experience. And you can sign up for that academy. We give you information about that. We actually have an academy coming up at the end of April. We only do them twice a year, so it's a big deal when one is coming available. And you can get more information through that website, and we can connect you and get you signed up.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, Tiffany, thank you so much for being with us here today on Las Vegas Vantage.
Of course. Thank you again for having me.
You bet. And thank you for watching. Remember, if you're looking to sell or buy a home here in Las Vegas, please give me a call. Rocky Dickerson of Realty One Group, 702-743-7625. And thanks again for watching Las Vegas Vantage.